Yo, the
Yo, yo,
countdown has
yo.
ended. We are starting.
Yeah, we live. What's up?
What's going on, Rob? How you doing today?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm pumped up. We have an awesome guest today. I'm jazzed about the whole thing. What about you?
It's exciting. Exciting times right now. It's Wednesday already. This week is like zoom by. It's just amazing how this time is going by with with this not semi lockdown stuff going on. I've been working from home for almost a year now, and wow, there's been so much car audio content, so many people streaming, and our guest tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about that with Kicker and about how they have just embraced streaming. And Rob and I, it makes us really happy. We started doing this show. We're getting close to our 100th episode. This is episode 91. So we've been doing 12 Volt Talk for quite a while. And, our whole initial premise behind doing this show was to get people in the car audio community together, learn about people that you may not know about that kind of maybe behind the scenes, and then the ones who you do know about, find out a little more that they don't ever talk about. So it's exciting times. And Tonight we have a guest who has an interesting background in car audio. He's been around for a while. Won't say he's an old guy because I'm old, but he now works for Kicker as their social media person or copyrightist. I'm sure he'll tell us exactly what he does there. But I'm getting ready to bring him in, and it looks like they're showing some woofer flex right now. Yeah. But let's go ahead and bring him in and show this woofer flex. This is Bill Braun from Kicker.
Oh,
Bill, I see a woofer flexing.
I didn't do that.
That was beautiful.
I did not.
Did you get to film that, or is that you filming or somebody else?
I think one of the guys from our videography team, or it may have been Kip. I think it may have been one of the guys in our videography crew that did that.
Very cool, and that's such a great teaser for things to come. And we'll get to it later in the show, but I found an article today, and I know you guys got the information yesterday, but you guys just won an award at CES, which is very impressive and very exciting, I know, for you guys. So we'll get to that. But let's go ahead and just start kind of at the beginning. You're right now at the Kicker World headquarters, and you're in the new room that you guys use for your Unmasked live shows for every Tuesday night, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So you're there, and this is an impressive layout. This one camera view doesn't give us a full view of that, and maybe we can switch to a different view later to show that. But we're gonna we're gonna just ask Bill some questions, and then maybe we can get to the setup later if we have a little extra time. So we're gonna start off, Bill. Yep. How did you get into car audio? Where did you start? Where are your roots? Just tell us a little bit about that.
The first time I ever experienced anything to do with car stereo was at a place called Karsten's in Danbury, Connecticut. That's where I'm from. I listened to a white BMW when I was maybe about 8 years old, and I heard it and I fell in love. That was it. I just flat out fell in love. Fast forward many years later, I got out of college and went to live in Raleigh, North Carolina, not too far from Derek, at a place called Creative Acoustics. And Creative Acoustics is owned by the Lovelace family, and Jay was my direct boss. And he taught me a ton about home audio, car audio, equalizers, compressors, crossovers, what phase is, some installation tips. But more than anything else, what I fell in love with was how to tune. And that was really my introduction into car stereo, was working with somebody that could easily be considered a legend. Jay Lovelace in the car stereo competition world is a pretty big deal, both in sound quality and sound pressure. So that's how I got started.
Oh, man. Now, I do notice something. Now we know why you're so polite. You're from Connecticut originally. So that explains a lot. Jay Lovelace, he is a legend for sure. So what was your first system? Like You can either do it this way, like your first system, as in whatever you threw together, or your first system as your first real system that you considered your system.
Strictly speaking, my first system was in my 1982 Chevy Citation, and it was regrettable, to say the least. If anybody has had the misfortune of working with a Chevy Citation, the radio is sideways. So you have to basically rip apart the entire dash. And when you don't know anything about your car, just to put in a cassette deck, and I'm 50 plus, so it's back when cassette decks were cool, and I'm not going to say new, but they were cool. I spent forever shoving that thing with something just short of a sledgehammer to make it work, but eventually I made it work, and that was my, I think it was a Kraco, which I still need therapy to get over the fact that my first car stereo product was a Kraco. That was my first cassette deck, because I really wanted to play Guns N' Roses' Use Your Illusion badly, and yeah, that was my first system.
The Citation, I forgot that had the side-mounted radio.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I wish I could too. I really do.
you know the thing I always think about when we talk about the older stuff, and some of the kids that are from even their teen years now, and even up to 20, they just don't realize the lack of the availability of cameras, because even as little as 20 years ago, we had digital cameras. They were expensive when they first came out, but you could still take pictures and you could get things like that. But back when us old guys were young, it was really difficult to get pictures of our setup, because you had to really either have a Polaroid and pay $1 per picture, or you had to have a 35 millimeter and be prepared to get everything, take your 36 exposures or whatever and get them all processed and have to wait.
Right.
So it was a lot more of a challenge back then for us to get pictures of everything. And I think people today are just so spoiled with the fact that if you don't have a picture of your setup or your system or, whatever project you've done in audio, then what are you doing? But it's just, that's one thing that I really miss, that I wish that we had back then, that I think people take for granted a lot these days. Just a slight side rant. Sorry about that. Because that way we could have seen your Kraco and your Chevy Citation if we would have had digital, right?
Right.
And I'm sure everybody wanted to see that.
Well,
then pre-internet.
He asked what was more regrettable, the system or owning the Citation.
Ouch.
I'm gonna go with
yes. Just
it's an even. Yeah. You know what? There's no way around it. Yes. You're totally right.
Well, I had a five
proposition.
I had a 5-door hatchback, so I'm with you. Mine wasn't a
Okay.
Citation, but it was not shaped a whole lot different. So I'm there with you. So Bill, as we're talking about this old equipment, you're talking about your Kraco head unit that I know you wish you never got rid of. Do you have do you have any one piece of old equipment that you would never give up? So say something you've held on to for a bunch of years and you just, hey, this is not going, this is going to be buried with me. You have anything like that?
I wish I could say that was true, but actually my favorite piece of audio equipment that I ever owned was, I'm going to say it's a tie. I had a Nakamichi Dragon. One of the first it was a unidirectional auto reverse cassette deck, where the cassette physically came out, flipped, and came back in, because Nakamichi swore up and down that the azimuth was perfect that way. From a car stereo standpoint, the first piece of equipment I truly fell in love with was I owned some Audison VRX Chrome Shadows, which were some of the best sounding amps I ever had. I loved the old school stuff. When I was working with Jay, we were a iPhonics dealer. And I really liked the Hyphonic Zeus and Colossus when it was out, the Series 8 stuff. I mean, this is old school stereo, right? So,
it's fine. You can talk about that. We love that gear too. That's back when the amps were 3 feet long and they did 1,000 watts, and we were like, wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and
electronic
the
stuff.
actual amp in some of those Hyphonics was only about a foot long or 16 inches long, and the heatsink was 3 foot long.
That was only
Tell
the Ulysses
no one.
and the Isis, right? That was the cheater amps.
Yeah.
The rest of them pretty
Right.
much matched.
Yeah.
That's a bit fortuitous that they
Yeah.
called that ISIS. I'm just saying. Not today.
I can tell you,
That's a good point.
also, you have to be careful by naming YouTube videos because that one got demonetized very quickly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Okay.
so I do have a question for you, and I'm going to use a word that my guy,
Yeah.
the DIY audio guy, likes to say. What amp or piece of equipment back in the day was just unobtainium to you? You drooled over it, you wanted it, but you never got it.
It was multiple pieces, and it was all under one big flagship called the F1 system. The Alpine F1 system was one of the better systems, and I'm a huge control fan. I love, if I had a 30-band third octave EQ for every single speaker, that is what makes me happy, and the F1 facilitated that, but it was just flat out of my price range. I wanted to get that. Another one was the Denon Z1, which is one of the best sounding head units ever made. I heard it in Gary Bigg's car in the Regal, and it was an incredible experience just hearing that.
Yeah, those are definitely some unobtainium pieces there you're talking about. I've not been fortunate enough to handle either one of those, but yeah, I know. I'm with you. Those are really nice. So we talked a little bit about, where you started off. You worked at Creative Acoustics for a while. Can you tell us about your stint as a sound quality judge, or how you got to be that, and also how long you did it? And I've got a lot more questions once we get into that about being an SQ judge. Okay. And just tell us, how you kind of fell into that particular arena.
I think I started out in a slightly different way than a lot of people did, in that a lot of guys started out as installers or friends of installers, and they had somebody guide them. I built what I considered was a competition system. You can ask Dean and Fernando about this one. I put it all in a Pontiac Fiero. I competed just a couple of times and realized I was clueless. I was totally clueless. And so I asked a judge, what should I do? And that judge is a man named James Feltenberger. And James said, go listen to reality. And so I did. I started going to jazz clubs. This little 18-year-old kid, hanging out in the corner, listening to jazz. I chose to listen to unamplified music, just to try to understand what it is I was chasing acoustically. And then I started figuring out what that looked like on an equalizer and how to fix problems that way, learning about phase and crossovers and EQs and stuff like that. I then started saying, okay, well, let's look at the best guys that I can to be a competitor. And as it turned out, I enjoyed listening to those guys. And eventually I got to the point where someone suggested I become a judge, just because of the ear I trained myself to have. And I enjoyed judging far more than I did competing. And I enjoyed helping an industry that I love, and helping new people get into that and find that love of reality that I latched onto, for better or worse. Certainly there are, people that are more technically adept. There are people that have a great ability to relay what the problems are. I think my strength lay in my ability to help people not only learn but understand the why of it. This is not how a violin should sound. This is not how a cello should sound. We played Hotel California all the time in USAC. You may not know this, but Hotel California, there's no kick drum. There's no drum in Hotel California. It's just a bongo, a really, really big bongo. I know because I went to a Hell Freezes Over concert. I saw them do it. I paid way too much to see them do that, but that taught me a lot. A bongo does not sound the same way as a kick drum sounds. The kick drum is going to belt you in the back of the head. The bongo won't do that. It's a little bit more hollow of a sound. I learned what reality was. I've been chasing that ever since, and I've been trying to inspire others to do so too.
This is a total side jag. That was a very good response, but when you said a young Bill at the jazz clubs, instant image in my head was a beret, one of the long skinny cigarettes, and like an ascot or something. I could not get that image out of my head. You forgot the
monocle. You forgot the monocle. Yes. It was like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now I do. Yeah. I had my comments, so I do have a serious question about SQ judging.
Okay.
Do you feel that it can be somewhat subjective, or how? Because me and Derek have trouble understanding like the subjective part of SQ judging. Can you kind of like give us an elevator pitch on what the subjective part would be?
One of the things about sound cue judging is it is incredibly subjective. It has to do with the amount of training every judge has, and they've been working for decades. I mean that literally, trying to come up with a degree of standardizing methods of getting every judge to do the same thing at the same time. It's not going to happen. People's ears are made a little differently, and that's true. I mean, women technically hear better than men. That's why some of the best sound cue judges right now are women. Not all, but a lot. Because that's true, it's a part of the competition and the nature of competition. Watch a football game. Different refs call different penalties at different games. It's the nature of it. I can promise you the people that I judged knew who I was, knew that I was going to be at the show, and they tuned their system to what they knew I preferred. Some other guy may be a converted bass head, and he wants that deep, thunderous, bam in everything, no matter what. That's his choice. And if he's a sanctioned judge, it's your job to cater to that. So, pro and con.
Yeah, no, that was a great response too. We talk about it a lot, Rob and I, about being YouTubers, if that's the correct phrase. I don't like to say that because what if YouTube ever goes away? We'll still be people. But
never say that again.
Please don't go away, YouTube. Please don't go away.
Stay here, YouTube.
Yeah, stay here for a little while or a long time. But we always talk about how difficult it is to portray anything related to sound quality over that type of medium. So it's really a challenge for us to review sound quality products, and give people any indication of, the difference of this versus something less or some different brand. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that we've always kind of it's just been a challenge, and I don't know if there's any way around it. Obviously, I can have the best microphones, I can have the best everything that I recorded on. I upload it to YouTube, and you listen to it on your phone, right, with the half-inch or 2 millimeter speaker that's built in. So,
right.
It's just difficult. But
I have it solved.
He has it solved. I'm listening.
Okay.
He's like Vanilla Ice.
If you I'll solve it. Check out the beat. But if you've ever watched game reviews, This is the way you do it, because that is very subjective whether someone likes a game or not. You play the games,
Sure.
you find someone that aligns up with the games that you like to play, and that's who reviews you go to. So we can't portray that sound quality over video as much. You can tell slight differences, but if you know that your style of listening is the same and you like the kind of things that the reviewer likes, that's the best way to go by it, in my experience.
That's a good point.
That's a really good point. At the end of the day, if what you hear makes you happy, I don't care how many trophies you do or don't win. If you're happy with the way your stereo sounds and you believe it's the best it can be, then mission accomplished. I don't care if the system costs you $100 or 50 grand. It's irrelevant. One of the things that I believe is the responsibility of every judge and most importantly every competitor, you are an ambassador. Your job is to make the best sound system you can, but it's in a sense kind of a privilege too. You let people come and this is one of the things I loved about competition and about the competition community. The really good guys, they wanted you to come and listen to their system. They begged you to come and listen to their system. They wanted you to hear the work that they put into it. And as a judge, I never bashed anyone, ever. I want people to be encouraged, to say, good job. I appreciate the fact that you've worked so hard to get the car to this point. Want to get it a little better? Okay, let's try these things and tell me what you think after. The more people that come up and listen to a great sounding car, and this is true of SPL every bit as much as SQ, if you can come to that person, be invited to listen and to experience it, when you've never heard anything beyond just a factory system, that's where the win to me is, where you can say your phone is a starting point at best. There is a whole nother level that you didn't even know existed that I can let you in on. I can let you peek at it and experience it for yourself. And if you like it, you can have some of this. You can go into your car, you can make changes, and you can get this new level of accuracy and imaging and reality and all the information that the artist intended. And yeah, it's an overused term, but having worked in a mixing studio, I can tell you that what I mixed versus what I heard are never exactly the same, and it always makes me just a little wanting. I want to make it the way I made it. And hopefully the people that go to a car stereo competition get that same impression, get that same passion. And if they can relay it, that's what we want. That's what we all want.
Yeah, great point. Great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bill, how many years were you a SQ judge? How long did you do that?
About a decade. When actually maybe a little more. I was in North Carolina judging. I worked in a small company called Fury in Georgia. I was judging there. And I went to, when I moved to Dallas, I judged there quite a bit. So when I moved to California, I did a little bit of judging, but not much. So it's been a while since I've judged anyone. And to be fair, because I work for who I work for, I think I'm going to serve the community better by simply telling them how we can help them get to that point that I was describing before, and
Right.
leave it at that. So, just kind of keep the impartiality
That makes sense.
in play. Yeah.
So with that said, and we don't have to go into name brands at all, but this is another thing that kind of I was always curious about from an SQ judge's perspective. Did you ever get a tour? Because I think did you get the tour of the car first and then listen to it second, or did you listen to it first and then get the tour? How did that work?
Depends.
Okay.
It depends on the type of show.
Okay.
The larger shows, pre-internet, you always had quote unquote the book, and the book was a big set of photographs showing you what was done to the car. Now, when you're judging installation, you need the book to say, okay, how did you grommet properly? Did you use security screws on everything? How did you install this, and how serviceable is this installation? Did it meet all the criteria that the rules set forth, so you could get the most points that you were supposed to get? Now, if you're just judging sound quality, then you're just getting in the car, playing the CD, and writing down the scores, and that's pretty much it. And that takes however much time it takes. But if you're judging everything, then you're going to start with the install. You do the walk around, you get around the car, you look at that book, and of course you're writing down scores as you go. And then after that, you get into sound quality.
Yeah, so the reason for the question, and
Okay.
just another thing I've always been curious. So say you do the walk around and you see, this gear we talked about earlier, these Audison amps, Sony whatever XES source unit, or the Alpine F1 that you talked about, super high end, and you just you kind of mentally think, wow, this is going to sound great. Versus, but were you ever shocked? Did you ever get an experience of a system that did not have, and I'm not calling out any name brands at all,
That's fine.
but if it had something that was well below what your normal standard would have been as far as price goes and as far as perceived performance based on price,
Yep.
do you remember anything like that, or was there anything like that that just really shocked you that somebody did something at a really inexpensive price and wow, sounded really good and I didn't expect that? Did you ever have anything like that happen?
Absolutely. I heard a Camaro. I know it was a very inexpensive brand, and I think they got the majority of their stuff in Circuit City. And it was some of the more affordable stuff at Circuit City. He put it in the kick panel. He put, I think, a single 8 in the back, and it loaded perfectly. And that thing imaged for days. I couldn't tell where the end of the car was. This dude knew how to tune. The quality of the equipment helps you get to where you're going, and it's considered kind of a shortcut, but the people that know what an equalizer is, that know what phase is, and know how to manipulate it and take the time to either learn or be taught, you don't need uber high-end dollar stuff to do that. It just makes it a whole lot easier. Now, yes, there are some mechanical limitations to anything, but yes, there are absolutely fantastic sounding systems that probably didn't break $500 a retail.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, I mean, if you know what to do or have a good teacher, especially nowadays, you've got tons of people out there online that are willing to help you. And yeah, it's hard to tell who knows what, but over time, sure, you figure it out. You figure out who on the boards or who in the group is legit and who's just kind of throwing stuff out there to feel good about themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
I know
That's
nothing
why I always
about
say,
that,
Yeah.
Rob. Me.
Yeah.
I know nothing
Well,
about that.
both of us. But you can't fix a bad golf swing with new golf clubs. You got to have a good golf swing.
There you
The
go.
new clubs are only going to help so much.
There you go.
But we're
Good
30
analogy.
minutes in. We haven't
Okay.
talked yet. So, can you
Okay.
tell us how long you've been a kicker, and also what is it like to be Bill? What's in the life of Bill besides dealing with us two knuckleheads?
Let's see. I've been at Kicker 5.5 years. So I was living in LA. As I said, I used to be a mixer for film and television and a little bit for music, but mainly film and TV. I went I went to Kicker after being asked to come in by one of my real good friends, the head of marketing named Kevin Campbell, is the director of marketing. Day in my life varies greatly, but taking care of the social media as I do, I normally am at the office by about 7:30-ish, sometimes earlier, sometimes later. And I do what I can to answer as many questions as I possibly can on social media. I care a lot about making sure people have questions get taken care of. You'll probably notice on social media, we highlight a lot of people and their installs. We don't do a ton of what they call beauty shots, mainly because I want to see reality and I want our shops to be highlighted. I think that, and I think everybody in the marketing department agrees with me, the more we highlight our dealers, the more those dealers, A, feel appreciated, B, are inspired, and C, you guys that are Kicker fans out there get to see cool installs. I mean, this gear is great, but right now it's just sitting there. I want to see it in a car, and I want you guys to see what it looks like in a car. I want you to hear what it's like in a car. Otherwise, it's just a beautiful hunk of metal, and that doesn't help anyone. So that's my...
Yeah, we like the beauty shots.
Tracks, actually.
Yeah, no, that's great. We like the beauty shots and the install shots, right, Rob? We'll go both.
Oh yeah, we love them.
They're definitely cool. They've got virtue on both sides of that.
As long as they're shot on Canon and not a Sony.
Oh,
come on! I've got May 7 Mark III, man.
I'm jealous.
We
just can't afford the Sony lenses. That's why Rob is so upset.
Man.
Yeah, that's
no, Sony makes nice gear. Nice gear for sure. So, a lot of the other companies, well, I don't know how many exactly, but I would say there's probably not as many that have a social media, kind of department, and somebody that has a responsibility like you have. I know Kicker's a pretty large company as far as audio equipment, lifestyle equipment type things go, but you kind of talked a little bit about it, but how do you feel overall about the importance of social media for any car audio company? I know it's your job and you know it's important, but just the things you kind of mentioned there, but mostly just the social interaction with your customers, or is it trying to get people to understand your products that are coming out, or how important do you feel that is versus just posting up a company that doesn't have an department, doesn't have a bill, that just post up pictures once a week or something? How do you feel about the importance of that?
I think that, just for clarification, are you talking about people that are, running a shop, or are we talking people at other manufacturers?
Yeah, I was mainly talking about the manufacturers. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't clarify. Okay. Just for the fine. Ones that don't maybe stress the social marketing quite as well as you guys do.
I think that social media is, and sorry, this is kind of a non-answer, but it is what you choose to make of it, and how you choose to do it. Analytics are, that term, everybody in the world uses it, but the people that choose to pay attention to the information that it gives you is a window into what the people want, which is, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is figure out what do consumers want to know about. Sometimes they will interact with us, and that's called engagement. Sometimes they will say, no, big problem, 40 hertz doesn't matter. Everyone fights to figure out what it is consumers care about, and this is a window into those thoughts. So For the people that are only doing it once a week, that's fine. That's a choice. There are a lot of really, really good tools out there that can help you find what those mentions are and how to use it. Some of them are free. Some of them are extremely low cost. And whether you're a manufacturer or you work or own a shop, the education it can give you and the education you can give them in turn is simply too valuable to ignore. And it's comparatively extremely, extremely low cost. If there are any people that own car stereo shops out there, I'm sure a lot of you have been approached with, hey, put up a billboard, or put your name in the phone book. By the way, for those of you that are younger, the phone book is a big thing with a lot of yellow pages in it. It doesn't really exist anymore, but just so you know. With all the people that look at a billboard, that's awesome, but you can't tell how many people really cared. With social media, people engage. They hit the like button. They hit the up or down or whatever. They hit a thumb. They say, this is cool or this isn't. That's information. That's something you can learn from, and it's something you can react to as a company. So for those guys that can only do a post a week, that's fine. Maybe you can do a little more if you can find a few minutes. Not everybody certainly has a whole marketing department to support them like I do, but everybody's got access to their cell phones, and they have the ability to take a picture of something they care about, and if it's cool to you, probably going to be cool to someone else. Put it up, say something interesting about it, put a few hashtags behind it, and see what happens. It's just an experiment. Learn from the experiment and move forward with that new information in hand. And hopefully, you'll get people to like you just a little bit more, even if it's just in the back of your head. That's what social media is about to me. It's not how to zing the other guy. I hate it when people talk trash about another brand. I don't care who it is. I think that the more we try to care about what other people want, I think the better off we are. And I think the better off this company is by employing that sentiment going forward.
Yeah, and I haven't said this to you guys directly. I've mentioned it to Dee several times. Like, the conversation around Kicker in the past few years has really, it's done a 180. So we were at the reputation of Kicker. The guy bought 2 Kicker 10s and he blew out his windows on a Boss 500 watt amp or whatever the case may be. The 40 hertz comment, now it's more like how I'm ruthlessly teased about CCA, but I've done it to myself, and it's funny. It's like now it's an inside joke, and I think that's, you guys kind of flipped the script, and now the 40 hertz is an inside joke, and like companies that are not doing this now, you guys are already 2 years behind Kicker, so you better watch, learn, and pick up a few tips. Yeah,
that's a great point, Rob.
Yeah.
And we kind of started off the show talking a little bit about the the importance of the social media interaction, the live streaming, the things that Kicker has fully embraced, and started a few months ago with the first Unmasked Live event where they showed all the new products that were coming out, and they were, it was an amazingly long show. It was amazingly well done, but every week, it's been honed a little bit better every week as far as production quality and everything else. But I think it's just such a great way to engage with the community, get that instant feedback, because you guys see the comments just like we do, during the show. And if somebody doesn't like something, they're going to tell you. If they do like it, they're going to tell you then as well. So I'm loving the times we're in, even though we're stuck in COVID and, we're locked down and can't travel and can't do the things that we like to do and can't meet and see people in person. we still have these tools. We have the ability to do these things now that really are great. And I think it's one thing that even when things get back to normal, we've learned so much about this. We're gonna be great at multiple aspects versus just being the ones that meet at CES and SEMA. Now we can do so much more. So making light of a bad situation is good. But you guys, I applaud you for the things that you've done with that. And
appreciate it.
yeah, we sorry, I don't mean to ramble on, but we have questions related to that, and we have some other old school questions too. I kind of put these in a bad order, so I apologize for stammering here a little bit. Go ahead, Rob.
I have
Fire
one
away,
that
man.
I have to ask before we get off. But before I do that, I want to give a shout out to Thomas Marshall. We appreciate you just as much.
Thank you, Thomas. Yeah, appreciate that.
The question is, and Derek come up with all these questions, but this is my favorite one. What is your favorite kicker product of all time?
It's got to be the Warhorse. It's got to be the Warhorse. It's such a different animal. Pardon the pun. The whole push-pull concept is so different, and it's got such an insane amount of power with efficiency that I've never seen before in anything. And I'm a sound cue guy. Yeah, for me, it's the Warhorse pretty much hands down. But the close second is the entire IQ line. There have been a couple of companies that have come out with processors built into their amps recently, and that's great. Kicker did it half a decade ago, and it's a very, very good sounding amplifier, and it's got that thing which I love. It's got control. And yeah, I know I'm kind of coming off like I'm shilling for Kicker, but look at the logo for a minute. The reality is, those IQ amps are everything I, as a sound cue guy, want. They're a fantastic sounding product, regardless of which line you look, regardless of which of the IQ amps you look at, and they all have phase control. They've got the ability to link up with your iPad or even your cell phone. They've got a full suite of sound options built right into the amp. You don't have to go out and buy another processor. It's got a processor built right into the thing, and because that's true, there's no additional set of cables, which means less opportunity for noise. So technologically, from a bass standpoint, yeah, the Warhorse, but from a sound cue standpoint and from a day-to-day operation standpoint, the IQ.
Yeah, and those IQ are criminally underrated amps. You can link up literally like 20-something of them if you wanted to with the little, But
Adapter, yep.
I'm going to have... There's some IQ amps going in the Troopers, so we'll see. People will see that soon.
Okay.
It raises his IQ.
Yeah.
So yeah, we apologies for jumping around a little bit because this just how it is. But I'm gonna get back a little bit to the weekly show and the Unmasked Live that you guys are doing now. And you're in. You just did episode 10. Is that right? That was your 10th week.
Yep.
So
That's
you're
10th week.
Got 10 of them already put aside. So the question is, since you've been embracing this, what has been the feedback overall? Like from, have you seen a bump in your, in your subscriber base? Have you been getting a lot more emails and a lot more social posts related to it? People commenting about it. What's been the overall feedback?
The feedback has been massive. It's the only way to put it. When we do our shows on Tuesdays, we get a significant bump in the number of people that visit the website. Of course, we get a gargantuan push in comments. And the cool part about that is, speaking from a company standpoint, it's stuff we can learn from. Derek, when you joined us yesterday, okay, you know what? I'm going to ask you. You're an unequivocated YouTube expert. How many comments do you think we got yesterday?
For the whole live stream?
For the whole live stream on Facebook and on YouTube. We simulcast to both, thanks to our programming and our products. How many
300?
comments do you think we? 1,600.
I was going to say
Wow.
in the thousands.
Yeah, we got 1,600, and that's just one show. So as the social media guy, I'm going through those, seeing what questions have to be answered, and I'm not done. But more importantly, there's a lot of opinion built into those comments. We learn a ton from that stuff. All those comments where people are expressing what it is they want. That's all any manufacturer wants is, dude, just tell me what you want, and we'll see what we can do about making it happen. Enough of you said that you want something. Guess what? Kip's going to end up winking at you. And at some level or another, you have a say in the products that we make. Yeah, there's a lot of innovation, and not everybody can meet those needs all the time. But without your input, there's no way that Kicker would still be here. I mean, we need to know what you think, good, bad, or otherwise. So yeah, that's the lifeblood, I think, of any intelligent company, is listening to their customer. This is how we do that. And of course, we go into shops. Even Steve Irby, the owner, he still goes into shops and talks to people with regularity. So yeah, if you're a Kicker dealer, don't be surprised if you see Steve just kind of walking in, smiling, asking how you doing.
So
Hey,
honestly,
I'm winking at
this
you right now, Bill.
this is really kind of unprecedented as far as that type of immediate feedback you're able to get, right? Because before you were maybe getting information from dealers saying, hey, we're selling a lot of these IQ amps, we're selling a lot of this particular subwoofer, and you know that just by the stats. But in this case, you're getting, hey, Kip is showing off a L7X subwoofer, and you've got 1,700 comments that come right in line, and you know that, hey, wow, this has got some interest. So that's why I talked about it earlier, about this being such a good thing that we have that immediate information right there. But I'm glad you guys are embracing it, and I really like you and I like your company and everything, but I'd really like to see from a whole industry, I'd like to see other companies embrace this a lot more, just for the sake of the consumers and getting them involved, and also helping mold products with the other companies as well, because you guys are at the forefront of this, and there's no doubt, and it's very exciting times. I keep saying that, but it is true. It's exciting.
Well, I will say that. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
The more companies that participate in this, I think the healthier the industry will be. I know there are companies making an effort, maybe at a different scale than we are, but a lot of the major manufacturers are at least thinking about it. And the more we all get together, and yeah, of course, we're a company, we're in competition with them, but we are all part of the same community. And the more we all make an effort to inform the public and be informed by the public, that's how we continue to thrive. That's how the industry continues to evolve, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was going to kind of go on that and say that me and Derek feel the same way about people doing audio content, podcasts, whatever it may be, because rising tide lifts all boats. So it's only better, even though they are or will be our competition, we would rather see more people in this competing with us and building the communities together. And I did want to say that I had a bead on the number of comments over Derek because he said 300, and I know that I put at least 300 troll comments in myself last night. So that's how I knew it was at least more than that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I mean that's great. I'm glad I'm not the guy that has to go back and answer them all, because I know when I post a video, I'll get 400 or 500 in a day, and I try to go back and answer most of them, but like you said, you have to filter through them. But yeah, that's a good part of anybody's day if you're keeping up with all that. So that's awesome.
Should we end on a high note, Derek, with your last question here?
I think we should, because I really enjoy this question, and so Bill, we know the answer, but what do you say? Is car audio dying? And no, this is not 2008. This is 2021. What's your answer?
You remember that buggy whip analogy I made? The people that choose to evolve are the people that will stick around. You guys have probably heard of the self-driving cars that are coming around, right? That, it's a slow evolution, but good example. The self-driving car, eventually, if you don't end up driving your car, what else are you going to do in the car? You're going to want to be entertained. That's going to mean good sound. There are plenty of other things out there. Car stereo is not just audio in a four-wheel vehicle anymore. It's in pretty much anything with a motor and the ability to move. And a lot of companies, including us, are trying to be a part of that, either at the manufacturer's level or in the aftermarket level. So is car stereo dying? I would say only when motors cease to exist is when car stereo will die. I don't think it's coming anywhere in even the remote future. I think it's going to change. I mean, great example, the key amp that was made here. One of the problems was people aren't tuning cars as much as they used to. So a self-tuning amplifier was introduced, and the key was that amplifier, and it's done stupendously well for us. But also it solves a problem, and that's our job, is to solve problems that either people didn't know they had, or problems that we all knew existed, but we just couldn't figure out how to fix it in such a way that people would be cool with getting it. So no, car stereo is nowhere close to dying, it's just changing. How do we know it? We see not just sales numbers, but we see those comments. We're back to that comments question again. The way people give us input, the way they say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if X were a thing? More often than not, we're going to look at that and go, maybe we can make it a thing. Or maybe someone's made it a thing and we can make it better. So no, car stereo is not dying, not by a long shot.
Bill, it makes me wonder, we're at the level we're at now with all the complexities involved with integrating into a factory system. Imagine if 2021 we still had double DIN head units and we didn't have all this integration with HVAC controls and everything, and the ability to more simply upgrade a sound system. To me, it's like the fact that the industry is where it is now, with new cars being so difficult to integrate with, it's like, wow. I just found it amazing that we're at this point, because it was not long ago, just a few years ago, I'm thinking, wow, people are going to get really tired of having to deal with these factory integrated systems and all the boxes you have to plug in, and dealing with the the head units that don't sound that great to begin with. But it's like, wow, I'm impressed that we're where we're at with the complexities that are involved. And Dean, I see Dean from 5 Stars in the chat, and he's doing 25 shows a week or whatever he does of content. He's not slowed down one bit with his installs. So he'll say car audio is nowhere near dead. So once we see Dean back up to, maybe 2 or 3 videos a week, then we'll know we're in trouble. But yeah, I just think that it's amazing that we're at the point we're at with everything that's as difficult as it is. So yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to ask and answer a question for you, but I just
No, that perfectly valid information, man. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, one of the reasons that our amps are the way they are is we had to make them more adaptable for newer cars. There's a reason that pretty much, with rare exception, almost all of our amps can take a 40-volt input. No, you're not going to remove that factory deck, and by and large, you don't have to. There are ways around the acoustic issues, the acoustic challenges that the factory introduces. We have products that are made to counteract those problems, and most of our amps are built to work with the factory amplifier. So you don't have to remove pretty much anything short of the speakers themselves. And until they change the way an amplifier physically connects to a speaker, there's going to be a wire between point A and point B. We can work with that wire, which means you don't have to change pretty much anything except for making it sound louder and better.
Yeah, and I think car audio I think it's at a point, it's maybe not where it was, but it is thriving right now. And people get a little frustrated sometimes with the Kicker live stream, because you're showing the key amps, or you're showing the prefab boxes, but what they forget is you're not going to have a L7X without selling thousands of key amps. This is an enthusiast product. It's not going to be a market force in sales, and you're not going to have kits about Warhorse amps if we're not getting these prefab boxes out there and the key amps and so on.
Yeah, it's all part of the whole. That's always going to be true, and no one company survives on just one type of product. So let's try to make everyone let's give everyone the opportunity to get better sound, whether or not they've got a small budget or a big budget, whether they've got a car, a boat, or a bike. Let's give them a chance to get something better than what the factory offered them, or to let them customize it just a little bit the way they want.
Yeah,
That's
and it truly goes back to what you mentioned about the sound quality and what makes you happy. So it could just be that somebody wants a little extra bump. They get a single subwoofer, in a prefab box, throw it in the back, and they're happy. And that's all they needed to add to their factory system. They're good to go. Then that's great. For some people, that's kind of a starting point, and that's another way to do it. But yeah, you have to offer enough products so that you can satisfy multiple different areas. But I think as an enthusiast that I am, and that Rob is, and that a lot of people in this chat are, the products that you guys are talking about that you always show at the end of the show, that you make us hold out for, those are the things that we're excited about. We're excited about a lot of things, but we were truly excited. It's like when you go to the car lot, and you go to the ones that you can afford, then you go start looking at the ones you can't afford, and just drooling over them. That's the thing. Even though I know that the products that are coming out are going to be relatively affordable, it's just more of the excitement level of having those flagship style products, and it's fun times. And so that was really our last question. Bill, do you have anything you want to shout out? Obviously, the Kicker Unmasked event is every Tuesday night at 7:30 Central Time, and that's on your Kicker YouTube channel and Facebook channel. Is that correct?
That is right, and of course they say that they're pre-recorded. Actually, I was curious, were there any questions from the crowd? Anybody asking stuff?
Yeah, so we're definitely
answering?
going to get to the questions, and we did have some questions that we'll get to, and so we'll go ahead and jump into that. Rob, if you want to help me scroll through, obviously we want to give Roy a shout out. Thanks for the $5, and can't wait for the L7X. He's one of many.
But before we get into the after talk, I do have to ask you guys if you remember this. Do you remember when Kip made a video and it said product prices and shipping dates, but then at the end he didn't tell us the product price or the shipping date for the L7X? You know I wasn't gonna let that
I think
slide,
I
right?
remember that.
You know
I think I was.
He's
right?
I think I
laughing.
remember that.
Kip, turn your
And
mic
he-
on, bro. You gotta
Kip is-
explain yourself.
Hey,
Kip is-
all I've got to
Kip is
say
laughing.
about that, Rob, is at least it wasn't 6 hours of us waiting and then him not telling us.
Yeah.
Hey, I've gotten better. Hey,
I love you, man, but that 6 hours was painful.
Hey, you know what? That show turned into be longer. I mean, I'm actually, hey guys, this is Kep. I'm actually backstage running everything for Bill tonight, so I'm just joining you on a microphone. So I've been in the chat a little bit, but trust me, it's hard to juggle the BMI system back here and be in the chat, but I'm doing the best I can. It's really fun watching Bill because I'm making him, if you watch his eyes ping pong, I'm making him chase cameras, and it's fun. It's like a cat with a laser pointer. It's the most fun a guy can have. But, you brought up, the cool stuff and everything, and I was waiting for Bill to kind of do the lead in, and you brought up Derek. So I'm gonna bring something up on the screen real quick, and I don't know if you knew this or not. And we wanted to cover this the other night, and we didn't get to it. But here, I'm gonna bring this up for you guys real quick. I don't know if you noticed, but even though there wasn't a physical CES show this year, they did take all the entries from companies like they normally would for innovation awards, and there was a digital online show, but we were blessed. We actually won an Innovation Award 2021 for the new L7X subwoofer, and I just popped it up on the screen there. You can see, Mike over at 12 Volt News, he did a call out on it, a big shout out, the CS logo, and then we got a comment from Steve. As always, we're happy to win Innovations Awards. This is a radically improved version of the original Solo X, and to be recognized for the amount of work and creativity we've put into it, making it a reality, makes us feel really good. And that's one of the things I hope that comes across when we talk about these things on the show, is that there's a passion that lives in this building to make these kind of products, and the L7X has been 3.5 years in the making, and I know everyone's excited for it. I know everyone wants to see it, and it's going to happen. I just brought up on the screen, that's the same video we showed the other night on Unmasked, but that is a prototype, close to finished, not completely done, but close to finished, L7X12 just sitting on the floor running about 1,200 watts into it. And that driver is going to be capable. I'm not going to give you a firm number, but it's 3 inches-ish. When we get everything nailed down, we'll have more firmer numbers, but it's going to be a serious beast. And, a lot of people will make comments about rolling shutters on cameras, and that's why the surrounds are all jacked up and look the way they do. In some cases, that's reality, but in reality, if you see a jacked up surround, I've seen cases where it's rolling shutter, and I've seen cases where it's just surrounds that have absolutely no control. And I notice, I want you to see on this video, that is a very, very well controlled surround. And when we build a product, it's not just about sound quality, and it's not just about output, it's about everything. And so that's a really cool video to show that. But I wanted to give a shout out to the Innovations Award, where I could cut in here real quick, because we're really proud to receive that.
Yeah, and Kip, we did not intend to forget that, because I know I brought it up early and we just didn't have it in our notes. But yes, that is very impressive, and it just goes to show that is something that's on a lot of people's radar. Obviously, CES gave it an award, so they know it's a big deal. But I think I'm not the only one here saying that, we're excited to see that product come to life.
And since you gave me some grief, this is what we're saying right now. Availability, we're shooting for third quarter. We're saying July. So hopefully we will hit that target. Trust me, if we can get it out sooner, we're going to, but we're not going to cut corners to get there. And so we're in the middle of a development cycle. And as all of us know, the dumpster fire that was 2020 has caused a lot of slowdowns on everything from, research and design, development, travel, production, shipping. There's all those things that are realities. But our target's July. And the firmest thing we can give you guys right now on pricing, obviously, is what we said the other night on Unmasked, is if you look at the old original Solo X when it was introduced, we did an 18, and then we followed that up with a 10 and a 12. We never did a 15-inch driver in the original Solo X. So this new line, the L7X that's coming out, is going to be in a 10, a 12, and a 15. No 18. Where's the winky face? But no 18, just 10, 12, and 15. But if you look at what the 10 and the 12 were, the 10 had a MSRP, I think, of $9.99, and if I remember right, the 12 was $11.99. And our goal is to be at about half of what those original drivers were. So if you look at the 10 used to be $1,000, we're hoping to be in that $450 to $550 window on the new L7X10. And if you look at the 12 that used to be $1,200, we're going to try to be in that $550 to $650 window. I mean, that's our targets. That's what we're going for. The economy is a little violent right now. Neodymium prices, I'm not that the L7X uses Neo, but just to give you an idea, like Neo stuff, it's up and down across the board. I mean, sometimes we even kill a project because the price of raw materials will change midstream.
Wow.
But we're committed to the L7X project. Everything's looking good. Actually had a chance to hear that woofer you see dancing on the floor there. I actually heard a new rev version of that last week, and it not only moves a lot, it sounds really good doing it. So we're excited.
Yeah. And I hope
we're
it does
excited
sound
as well.
good, because I've already promised the people on Sound Advice Monday that you promised me that it sounds good. So don't make me look
No
like
pressure.
I'm sure it's in writing somewhere.
It really does, and an L7X 18, or I mean 15, is going to sound awesome in my home theater.
or the quad
So,
box.
Bill, do you own a Warhorse?
I wish I did. I do not.
I wish I did too. So that's two of us. I think a lot of people may assume that if you work at a company like Kicker, JL Audio, Rockford Fosgate, wherever, and they have a cool product that comes out, that the employees all just kind of get it. That's not how it works, right? I mean,
That's how I want it to work.
that's how you want it to
cool.
work.
That's cool. Give me one. That's,
If it did, I'd have like 6 forklift batteries in here to power my test bench. Derek,
that's how we all want it to work.
Yeah.
That's how we all want it to work, no doubt.
Yeah. So what we'll do here, Bill, if you can hang around, we're going to sign out the normal podcast, but we'll stay on just for a little bit and answer some more of the questions that are in the chat room, because we'll put this out on audio as well. And the people who are listening over audio, we prefer to do a little bit of a condensed version. So again, Bill from Kicker, thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate your time tonight. And if you guys want to check out kicker.com, we'll leave the link in the video description. You can see all the cool products. You can check out the Unmasked live show, which is every Tuesday, 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern. And it's a lot of fun. Just join us in the chat if you want. They do giveaways all the time. Lots of cool stuff. Show off new products. They educate you. Kip's really good at that. And educating the people about products and things you can do. So it's exciting times, and Bill's always back there answering questions and helping out. So that's a good time as well. And Bill, your perception on sound quality and your explanation of that and everything, that was really a good thing to hear, because I think a lot of people needed to understand how all that works and kind of your background and your passion. To me, that's just one other aspect of the way Kicker selects employees, is they pick kind of the best of the best to fit in, and you guys are all just so passionate about what you do, and you really truly are, I wouldn't say audiophile because I don't like that word, but you're audio junkies. You're in this for the long haul. This is not something you just go to a job to do and then you go home. You live this, right? This is part of your life.
Very, very much so.
Very much. So thanks again for that. And Rob, go ahead. I didn't mean to speak over you.
Well, I was just going to say, no, not only are they part of the community, they help build the community. So that's it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so again, if you're not joining us live tonight, make sure you check us out at 12vtalk.com or 12volttalk.com. Both of them take you to our YouTube channel. You can subscribe. You can watch us live every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And we'll have, maybe we'll have Bill and Kip on again, and we can do a tour of their little studio to see what exactly they do to do this Unmasked show, because it's really impressive, everything that's going on here. And again, thanks for your time, Bill. And if you'll hang on just a second, we'll get to the questions from the chat, And thanks, everybody. Until next week,
We out of here.
we're out of here.
Bye. Later.
Thanks, guys. All right,
I need a
Bill.
better
So,
sign off.
yeah, let's, here we go. So here's a question. And I asked Tony DeMore this question, and I don't know that we were ever really sure. I know the Warhorse works on the audio precision, even with its push-pull operation. Do you know if if it would work on an amp dyno, or?
Maybe Kip can chime in on this one, because I've never, and I've looked, I've never seen a Warhorse amp dyno run.
Yeah,
I'm enjoying being the talking head behind the scenes tonight. I may start doing the show just like this, because this is more fun. I get to control everything. I can just talk when I want. This is great.
Kip, you talk, and we'll try to do it like an old school like kung fu movie.
Oh, look, Godzilla, he's coming around the corner. Here's the thing, and it's funny you bring that up, and since Bill ping-ponged it, I'll go ahead and take it. The original Warhorse was a very, very unique amplifier in this aspect. First, and without exaggerating, that amplifier was literally a cocktail napkin idea from the bar, when a couple of our head engineers here at the time, and Dan Jobin, who's no longer with us, when by me no longer with us, unfortunately he passed away a while back. But Dan Jobin, who used to be the guy who was in charge of our tech department and then moved on, did some other things in R&D. But the three of them were sitting in the bar, and of all places, Vegas. I think it was actually the Alligator Bar, it might have been. And they're brainstorming about, if maximum efficiency was our goal, and we, cost was no object, and we could do whatever we wanted, how would we approach this, and what would we do? And that's literally, they just, drinks and cocktail napkins, I guess, create great things, because that was the birth of the Warhorse. And they came back from Vegas with that, and they kind of threw the idea around here, and then they threw the idea into the sales and marketing channel to get our input on it. And originally, I was very, very, very excited about the Warhorse, because in my mind, when they started describing what we were looking at designing, is that, I wasn't just focused on the 10,000 watt amplifier when that amplifier first came out. I was focused on more the fact that, okay, if we could scale this technology down into a 5K amplifier or a 1K amplifier, that would be very small, be very compact, and be very efficient. And unfortunately, that's when they started telling me, well, it doesn't really scale down like you think it does. The transformers that go into it, which if you've ever seen the inside of a Warhorse, and maybe we can get one on the show sometime, you could see one. The transformers that are in that are very, very unique. They have to be hand wound. There was no machine to make these transformers. As a matter of fact, in the beginning, we actually had to hand wind all these transformers here in Oklahoma and then send them over for production, because they couldn't figure out and get them to our standards, because it's a really unique transformer. But the way that amplifier works, anyone who's out there who has any amplifier, it doesn't matter if it's a monoblock or a 2-channel or a 4-channel, you're used to taking the positive and the negative from your speaker to a set of terminals on your amplifier, and that amplifier drives that speaker through a positive swing and through a negative swing. So if your speaker's just sitting there not moving, we call that zero, or at rest. So when a speaker is given an impulse signal, it moves as far forward, comes back to the neutral position, and moves that same direction back. That's one sine or one cycle. And so all that happens with one set of binding posts. So you have your positive and negative, it goes to your speaker, and it drives that speaker up and down. Well, one of the things about the Warhorse that was very unique, and it's what led to its efficiency, was there were 2 sets of terminals on the Warhorse. Terminal set 1, all it did was the positive sweep. So if you started at neutral or 0, it would go up and then come back down to 0 and stop. That's all it did, up and back to 0. And if you didn't do the negative swing, you don't have music. You would lose half your signal. And so then the other set of terminals on the Warhorse, they did the negative swing. So on the positive, when the one set of terminals swung through the positive sine wave and came back to neutral, the second set of terminals took up and they did the negative swing and then back to the positive swing, almost like a roller coaster. And so you had to use a dual voice coil subwoofer on a Warhorse, because basically what happened is coil 1 in your sub became your positive swing, and coil 2 in your sub was for the negative swing. So like if you look at any amplifier today and you hook a speaker up to it, coil 1 and coil 2 are doing both duties. They're both swinging positive, they're both swinging negative. But in the Warhorse situation, coil 1 only swung positive and coil 2 only swung negative. Now, there were a lot of things the engineers had to overcome to make that work because, not to get too deep on you guys, but there's this thing called back EMF, which is electromotive force. And if you take a speaker and hook it up to a voltmeter and just take your hand and push the cone back and forth, you'll see it creates electricity. A speaker is a generator. I mean, you can make power with it. I mean, if you could move it 60 cycles a second with your hand fast enough, you get current out of it, and if you had enough, you could light a light bulb. So when you're playing a speaker, when your amplifier is actually driving the speaker, at the exact same time, that speaker is creating back EMF, and it's trying to play the amplifier. And if you've ever gotten to one of these specs, which it matters to us as a kicker, it's called damping factor. Damping factor is how you refer to how well an amplifier controls that back EMF from the speaker and doesn't let it affect the musicality of what it's trying to do. So there's a whole lot of things that tie into this. So with your conventional dynos that you're using today, even the one like you were talking, I think Big D, you're talking about the AMM1, if I remember right, the one you can put in line with the speaker lead?
Either one, Kip. I know the other one, the big one has got it has 2 channels on it, but I'm not sure that you could run positive to one side and negative to the other because each one has positive and negative on it.
Correct, and that's the issue is, you know, we can obviously test it here because you can measure the voltage swing out of the positive and then you make sure you got the same voltage swing out of the negative and you do the math and you know how much power it's making.
Right.
But the way amp dynos today measure, I'm not an engineer, but I can read schematics and tell you what's going on, and I know a little bit more than the average marketing guy, and I don't think you can measure a Warhorse amplifier in any amp dyno today because I can't see how you'd be able to measure the positive swing and the negative swing through those one set of terminals on amp dyno and have it calculate the numbers, because all an amp dyno is doing is providing the load, reading the voltage, calculating the math, and converting it to watts. I mean, it's just doing the work for you. And I don't know how you would do that with a Warhorse because of its unique design. Now, because of its unique design, I mean, I'll share a funny story with you. The very first show vehicle we were putting together, our own tech guys were building the vehicle and putting it together, and they were having problems. It wasn't sounding right. It was, you know, if you're only getting half the signal, it doesn't sound right. And so they're going through there having problems, and I just happened to be walking through the bay, and this is after I moved out of doing tech support and stuff, and I'd moved on to another position in the company. And I'm walking through, and as a matter of fact, at that time I was writing owner's manuals. And I'm walking through, and they're talking about through, and I say, hey, what's going on, guys? And they tell me, and they describe it all to me, and I go, yeah, that's not how that amp hooks up. You guys got to take coil 1, and it's got to go to one half of the amplifier, and coil 2 has to go to the other half. Now, if you're running 2 woofers or 4 woofers or 8 woofers, you have to series in parallel to make sure you're getting to the, you know, no less than 2 ohms on coil 1, which is all the positive ups, and you got to take all the coil 2s and make sure they're at 2 ohms or more on the positive down, and that's how it works. And all the tech guys looked at me and said, oh no, that's crazy, amplifiers don't work that way. And of course, I said, I just got done writing the manual for this thing. I'm pretty sure I know how this thing works. And so our, you know, R&D came down and they like, oh yeah, Kip's right. And even they were like, well, that's crazy. Why does it work that way? But to get the efficiency, which there's still no amplifier on the plant today that has the efficiency numbers that original amplifier did. I mean, it was like 96 or 98% efficient. It was something insanely silly what it was for efficiency. But the thing is, 10,000 watts at 96% efficiency is still a boatload of current. I mean, it's not like it didn't draw a lot of current.
It still needs those triple 1-aught inputs for sure.
Yes. Was it 800 amps of draw?
I want to say it was 780, 860. It was somewhere in that ballpark. I mean,
only 860 amps of
only.
draw.
I mean, we had to actually
work on your bike, Derek.
Yeah, we had to build 3 special power supplies and a backup battery bank and everything just to do in-house testing to verify the things on the bench here for a Warhorse. So I would love, because we could probably find a way to put one in your hands, but I just don't know that you can test it because I can't put the pieces together here to see how it would work.
Kip, is there any way that you can go out there where Bill is and sit beside of him? Because people are like, well, who's this ghost man talking in the background? That way at least we can see you.
I'm sorry. I was told to keep them under control.
You can just leave that one shot. That's fine.
Let me switch cameras there, and I'll go join him out there. Give me 1 second.
Come on, Kip.
Sure. Come on, Kip. So what about a key 1000.5? I see several people asking for that. I know you guys can't talk about new product, but we're providing.
Can't talk about new product. Well, I'll respond the way that I always respond when asked about new product. I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no, but I'm not saying no. That's right. And here's Kip.
Hey,
The magical voice that you thought was mine
voice
without my moving my lips.
I'm not dressed for work. I'm in my casual attire. I feel a little out of place here.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
Let's
I get it.
see. Rob, help
I
me.
would
Did
like
you
to
see- yeah.
put it,
Is that-
I'd like to put in a
that-
good
okay.
word for Bobby B, the self-proclaimed kicker's biggest fan. Can we rig one of these giveaways for him?
Can we rig one?
Yeah.
We know people.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not impossible. It's really not.
You know, Bobby, they say people can't be bought. I do have a price.
And he does have a get out of jail free card that we're aware
Only
that's still
one.
floating
Right.
around.
If it's,
I mean,
if
he's
it's
been
used on
riding
a
that
t-shirt,
get out
man, that's
very
underutilizing.
hard.
Yeah, you better watch, Kip. You might lose that one for long if you could keep talking about it.
It takes a whole lot of good to get one card. You can just one little bad wipes it out, so you got to be careful. You know, Jason, I see your thing there. I want a key 1000.5. I've said this, and of course, we can never assume that everyone's seen everything that we do. So questions coming up just means you've never seen the answer in something we've done. Key is very, very popular for us. You're going to see more products in the Key line coming from Kicker. People love what the Key does, and the fact that it does it, I like to call it auto-magically. You just run the test tones, you put it into the mode, step out of the car, let it run for 5 to 8 minutes, and it does everything for you. And I like the fact that he called me out on that, because if you ask Mr. Hi-Fi Vega, he's actually experienced the Key and how it sets up and works. And I'm not asking these guys to be brand champions. I don't want to put them into that type of position. But I think even Robert would say it's probably one of the most amazing products that fits in your hand like this that he's ever experienced.
And if he really wants a 5-channel experience, at the end of the day, all that is 4 channels and a sub. Just get the 4-channel version, get the sub version, adventure over.
Yeah, you could do a Key 200.4 and a Key 500.1, and you're there. It's 2 chassis, but I mean, both of them together aren't much bigger than this as far as a footprint.
You could use a 3D printer or have somebody fabricate you a little enclosure,
There you go.
right?
There you
But-
go.
but
people-
Why didn't we think of that?
People can do all kind of
More
fancy
key-
stuff.
More Key products
Yeah.
are coming, and trust me, it's popular and people love what Key does, and you're going to see more things coming. Unfortunately, right now, like I jokingly tell people, it's not that I can't keep a secret, it's the people I tell, they won't keep their mouth shut. So right now, I can't.
Yeah, they keep
You have
talking
no
about the
idea
amp.
how hard it is to say, dude.
I'm just waiting on the standalone DSP, man. That's what I need.
So-
That standalone Key SP. That's free. You can take.
Oh, he even came up with a name for you.
A Key SP.
Wow, the Key
That's-
SP.
Okay.
Rob,
What if you had?
ESP.
you should
Sign
have
the
bought that
NDA,
domain name.
Get that suggestion to us. Yeah.
Also, Kip to
Yeah.
be square.
It's Kip to be square. We just got schmediums and everything going tonight.
I'll take me some middlers and a couple schmediums, and how about some of that Kip to be square? And can I get that to go? Thanks, I appreciate it.
Dad jokes are in full effect.
Dad game is strong here some nights.
Oh,
It
yeah,
is.
Myers.
Yeah, so
We are humbled by all of the love and the appreciation for the Key and people wanting more. And yes, guys, we're working on more products. And I can't let it all out of the bag. But what Hi-Fi asked for there, yeah, we know people want a standalone DSP that will do that and more. And so I can't give any specifics. I can't say if we're working on it. I can't say what's available. But yeah, people are asking. So like Bill kind of said earlier, you ask, we're listening. We do take all this feedback, and it does drive product development. And to kind of tie into your show that you did tonight, Derek, this social media thing that we've started doing with the original Unmasked, and then we've committed to doing a weekly show, which is not as easy as it sounds. I mean, I look at what you guys were doing, and I thought, oh man, these guys are rock stars, and it's easy. And blah, blah. When you actually get down and say, okay, I'm going to do a show once a week, just one show a week, and think about what's the content, what's the B-roll that's going to come along with it. Are we going to have guests? What's the topic going to be? We all sit around sometimes and just go, what are we having for dinner? Because that's what everybody cares about. They're not worried about the show. They just want to know how we're feeding ourselves.
yeah, 5 guys, never a bad idea.
You get everything going, and Eric shows up with the hottest mic in the world.
Yeah, blowing everybody out of the water. I got to be heard, right?
Absolutely.
You were heard.
You bring it up, and it's kind of funny you say that. I had actually decided we were going to have 5 guys last night, and I got vetoed for Chipotle.
Oh, wow.
You got robbed.
Next Tuesday, I'm
Next
having
Tuesday,
5 guys.
5 guys. It's definitely 5 guys.
You guys have a
Stuff is
free
awesome.
bird down there.
A what?
Free birds? There's free to-
No, we have Raising Cane's here in Stillwater. We had Zaxby's. They lasted for all of about 30 seconds and went out of business. And then we've got another place called Slim Chickens, which is also, chickens type stuff. I know what a Zaxby's is. I've eaten at a Zaxby's, but we don't have one here.
Huh.
Freebird.
Interesting.
Or Freebirds, I'm sorry.
Freebirds.
Yes, Freebirds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Freebirds.
Yeah,
They
Freebirds is
may.
good
I
stuff.
think, now that you say that, I actually think one just opened up in Oklahoma City, but that's like an hour drive, so it's not like it's local.
Yeah, they're in Oklahoma City.
Thanks,
They're-
El Fuego.
Yeah, El Fuego, thanks for the shout out here. He says his Kicker's ZR 460 amps and 10-inch round solo barrack subs are still going strong. Kicker's one of the few companies that are true to the brand.
Yeah.
You
Those are
know,
super
we
awesome.
sure try, guys.
You got to refoam them.
I've got to, get the audience here to back me up on this, but, 1973 and 2023 is a very significant year. So I need you guys in the chat and you guys who watch the Kicker live events and people who send social@kicker.com emails, let them know that you want some retro products, stuff that looks like
I
the
knew there
old
was some
school
peer pressure
stuff.
coming. There's some peer pressure coming. Absolutely.
Because I want to see them too, and I need you guys to back me up. And somebody just drop something. Sorry.
Give the people what they want, but give us the proof we need that the people want it.
Yep, I see gold. Gold.
You see, gold.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the same guy, unfortunately. No.
Gold.
You know, it's you guys need to keep that feedback coming. I will say that I've brought that idea up with the boss, and if you know Kicker, there's only one guy who's the boss. And ironically, I'm going to give a shout out. If you're interested in the boss, which is obviously Mr. Steve Irby, he's a busy man, and we can't get him all the time, but we get a lot of people ask. He's actually going to be on Unmasked Live next Tuesday. So we're actually going to have a session next Tuesday with Mr. Steve Irby. That'll be the 19th.
Awesome.
So anyone who's tuned into this now, or if you see it after the fact, if you're interested in dropping product ideas on the only guy who needs convinced, fact, Steve is going to be on the show next Tuesday night, but it's our Unmasked Live show, not here with 12 Volt Talk, although I think getting Steve on 12 Volt Talk sometime would be a great idea too.
Yeah, we definitely would love to do that. We're only 9 episodes away from our 100th episode, so we've got some plans for our 100th episode, and we're hoping we can get a few guests to come on there and congratulate us on 100, because we did like $1,000 for each episode, right, Rob?
A what?
One of you got that.
We've done 10 episodes and we're ready to wash our hands, and you've done almost 100. So I guess inspiration for the win.
Yeah.
All those $5 donations are only going to one bank account. It's one.
Yeah,
Robert,
we
that's
split
why
it.
He's got the nice mic.
We're like Bubba Gump and Forrest.
Right.
We split it 50-50 right down the middle.
Yeah, YouTube, it takes their cut like the government.
YouTube takes like 60%, and then we take 50-50 of the remaining 40. So
They're like the government. They touch your money before you touch your money.
They sure do.
Just remember, 60% of the time, it works all the time.
You're right.
Yeah,
And 40% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
right.
That's another fact.
El Fuego, that's a great idea, and I think that's what we're talking about. If you think that'd be a good idea, I would really encourage you to tune in next Tuesday, Unmasked Live. We kick that off at 7:30 Central Time on Kicker Facebook and YouTube channels. This kind of input, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Steve Irby needs to hear and see that. Like I said, we've dropped the idea. It'd be really cool to do a retro run of subs, and they would be first come, first served. I mean, it wouldn't be like it'd be something we do all the time. It'd be a limited edition run. There'd be so many of them. When they're gone, they're gone. But we've talked about it. It's a great idea, and there's obviously enthusiasm for it. So keep it coming. We need to hear it.
Well, I mean,
Maybe we can get the Kip wink.
Yeah.
well, all I gotta say is 50 years is impressive. I mean, 40 is impressive, but 50 is just unbelievable.
It is
almost.
It is pretty amazing, and the things that, and I can't follow all the comments even when I'm out here doing the show, much less when I'm back there running the switcher, but I try. And a lot of people have comments, and I understand and appreciate, people ask, I wish they were made in the USA, I wish they were made in the USA. Guys, there's just a lot of things you can't make in the USA anymore because the machinery just isn't here. Even the guys who claim they're making, and there are guys who are tooling up and making subs here in the USA, but they're not sourcing every part in that subwoofer from the US because there's some things you cannot buy here. One of the big ones is neodymium. If you're making, whether it's a tweeter or a middler or a high-end subwoofer that's using neo, if you're using neo, you're getting that out of China because China won the geographic lottery, and they have the largest known reserve of neo in the ground. So if you're using neo, you're getting it out of China. There's just no other way around that. And Kicker was one of the last companies that made the move to offshore manufacturing. We still do all research, prototype development, sales, marketing, social, anything other than assembling the final product we do here in this building in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and it's because we have no choice. If you go back to, I'm trying to remember the year it happened, I don't want to lie to you, it would have been late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere in that time frame, maybe up as high as 2004. One of the vendors we were dealing with here in the U.S. who was providing parts to us, they went out of business. So at that point, as a company, we had to, and there was nowhere else to go, and so we were forced and had to scramble to find another way for us to get our designs to market because there was no one available anymore in the U.S. doing that. So understand, when we made that change, it wasn't lightly, and we were one of the last ones still doing stuff in the USA. So. And there are some things that we manufacture that we send parts from the USA to be put in over there because the parts we want or the quality level of the parts we want aren't available in other parts of the world. And there are some things we do here in the factory, like a lot of our the GM tailgate systems. The plastics for those are actually made right up in Neodesha, Kansas. They come down here. The amplifiers obviously come in from offshore. The drivers come in from offshore. We do final QA and QC here. We do final assembly and packaging of those products here. So if you happen to have seen the GMC tailgate, the Kicker audio system you can get in their tailgate, that's, parts come from other places, but some of those parts come from here right in the USA, and it's final assembled, tested, packaged, and out the door from right here in Oklahoma. So we do what we can here. It's just, unfortunately, it is a global market now when it comes to sourcing goods and products, and you can't do everything in one spot anymore. It's just reality.
Exactly.
And that's a question that came up, and I just wanted to address it. Yeah,
I'm going to jump back to that other question because I thought that was a very good one too, but this one, that came up here kind of says it all too. And that's what you guys already do.
And there's only one rare earth mine in the United States, and they can't refine their products in the United States even so.
No, and the other thing that we take pretty seriously, it's called quality assurance or quality control, QA, QC. I refer to everything, I call it the out-of-box experience. I mean, the first time you get a box from a manufacturer, doesn't matter who it is, and you open that box up, what's your experience? Are all the parts in there? Is the label included? Is the manual in there? Is everything straight? When you take it out, are all the screws in it? When you install it, does it work properly? We really, really strive for a 100% out-of-box experience. We strive for 100. Doesn't mean we get there, but if you don't strive for 100, you're not going to get as close as we do. And we do quality assurance and quality control at the point of manufacturing, whether it may be, whether it's Thailand, Taiwan, Malaysia, China, because we source products all around the globe. And we sell products all around the globe. I mean, a lot of people may not realize, but we are in 88 countries worldwide.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, we're not just a USA brand. We sell products across the entire globe. And so when you look at that, it's really about all being there and being together in one package like that. So a lot of people don't realize that, but we do as much as we can here. We really do.
Full bridge topology is the future of car audio. That's the question, Kip? What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. It's like I'm going to answer this question through the back door. Class D amplifiers. A lot of people think Class D is a new technology. And the truth of the matter is, Class D as an amplifier topology was developed back in it's either 53 or 56, and I apologize.
56.
Thank you for backing me up on
right.
that. I tried to keep a lot of stuff in this melon, but the older you get, it just leaks out the one ear. But that topology was developed back in 56, so it's nothing new. It's just when Class D was developed, about the only thing it was really good for was short burst radio transmission because it was such noisy, hashy garbage, but it was very efficient. And so if you look at Class A, B, B, Class C, Class H, Class G. I mean, there's all these different classes. Manufacturers don't create those. Those are actually classes that audio engineers developed and designed. Say, okay, this is how the basic circuitry works. This is a Class A, and this is why we call it Class A. And this is Class AB, and so on. So Class D is not new. But what is new is Class D amplifiers, the first ones that came out, and I don't want to exaggerate, but I think it would have been, was it Infinity car?
The first one I personally remember, the first one I personally sold was a JL.
Okay, well, I know they were before that. There was,
it was bass only. The switching speed just wasn't there yet.
yeah. And so when you look at how a Class D amplifier works, everyone calls them digital, which is not correct. It can kind of be looked at as it works in a digital way, but a Class D amplifier is not digital. Class D is the classification from the Society of Audio Engineers what that class is. So the way it works is it literally oscillates the output. It's a pulse width modulated output, on, off, on, off, on, off. And then just like if you're looking at a compact disc, CDs work the same way. It's ones and zeros to recreate a waveform, and there's a bunch of garbage and noise that comes along for the ride. So you have to use a low pass filter so that you got 20 to 20 coming off your CD without the high-end garbage. Class D amplifiers work the exact same way. They use a pulse width modulated power supply. They're very efficient, but then at the end of the game, once you get it all through the amplifier, there's some low-pass toroids in there that filter out the high-end crap that comes out of that amplifier. So Class D is not a new technology. Kicker started messing around with it, I think about 16 years ago now, maybe a little bit longer, but it was only in bass amplifiers because the switching speed of the devices that were available, had nothing to do with Kicker being able to design it. It's just that the transistors and the modulated controllers and how fast they'd switch, that's just all that was available. And they were only good up to maybe 250 hertz at best. So for low-pass amplifiers that you're not going above 150 cycles, it worked fine. But the parts, the switching speed of the transistors, the switching speed of the microcontrollers, that keeps getting better and better and better. And now we're here today that some people think that Class D is a noisy and a bad amplifier because of the rap it got in the early days. Here's all I'll say to that. If I was to put you in a blind ABX test with one of our Class D amplifiers, let's take like an IQ 502 or an IQ 504, and then I would put you into whatever, one of ours, so it would be like a CX or anyone else's Class AB amplifier, and I was to blindfold you, I don't think you would find the difference between either one of those at all. In fact, I've actually participated in some of those tests with other people, and they've chosen the IQ Class D as the Class AB because it sounds better. So if it sounds better, it's got to be Class AB because that's what the whole world's pushing at you, is Class D sounds bad. Here's what I'm going to say. Your ears have to make that decision for you, but you also have to take into account cars moving down the highway with a high noise floor. You have less of a chance to hear some of that noise that might be there. But in your home, or in a whole house audio system where there's a very low noise floor and everyone's moving to these 7-channel and 9-channel, 11-channel and home amplifiers. And by the way, just like in a car, you can only make so many power out of the alternator and the battery. The same thing exists out of the power on your wall. I mean, the best you're going to do is 1,800 watts. That's all you can suck out of a single outlet on a wall. Then your inefficiencies and everything comes down the pike, and then you turn into power. But those companies have all moved. They have their own names for it. They call it ICE. They have different names, but they're all moving to Class D. If home audio companies, earphone, in-earbuds, headphones, monitors are moving to Class D technology because it gives you longer battery life, it's smaller, it's more compact, it's less heat. If everyone's moving that direction, I don't think you can make a case that Class D sounds bad because the people who are putting gear in environments that are way more critical than your car are all moving to Class D. So I think the thing I'm saying is Class D is matured and it's there and you can use it for anything. The reason I take it back and I use that Class D analogy and go back to 1956 is because there's this big game going on about, half bridge and full bridge topology. Full bridge topology is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. We've been using it in our amplifiers for a long time. Now there's a lot of interest in it because of the full bridge, and I don't mean to use the term, but that's what he calls them, the Brazilian style amplifiers that are small and compact and full bridge. There's nothing special about that other than that's their design of full bridge. Any of our amplifiers that are monoblock bass amplifiers, they're all full bridge. They have been full bridge for a really long time. As a matter of fact, if you're full bridge, you cannot do where you take a master amplifier and an auxiliary amplifier and strap them together to make one big amplifier. Those have to be a half bridge design, or you can't take two full bridge amps and do that. So it has to be half bridge. So full bridge, people ask me, is it the future? I don't know. We've been doing it for so long, it's our future. It's nothing really that new. So is that a $10,000 bet there, Kip? I think I've heard one of those before.
He's got the hat out.
He's got the hat.
He's got the hat.
Look at it.
It's a
Yeah,
beautiful
I
thing.
meant to put the URL where you could go purchase one, but I'll put that in the chat below so you can get yourself one and have a good time. So listen, guys, we greatly appreciate your joining us tonight. Bill, it was fun going through all the questions with you and learning more about your history and all that. I know we've chatted before. It hasn't been to a long extensive chat like this, so it was fun to get to know you a little better. And Kip, there's never
Thanks
a
for
dull
having me,
moment
man.
with you involved. So we appreciate you helping out behind the camera and
My
keeping
pleasure.
people, keep winking at people like you do. Keep that up. Never give it away.
I think we'll have to patent or trademark it or something. There might be some dollars in it in the future, tens of them.
They're
Might
calling
be.
the Big Bang Eagle.
There you go.
All right, guys. Well, just remember, everybody, join Kicker obviously next week for Tuesday night, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. You'll be able to see Mr. Steve Irby, and that'll be a fun show. I'll definitely be there chatting it up with everybody, and can't wait to see what you guys have coming up next.
Yeah, hang out tomorrow too.
All right.
Reverse polarity.
Bill, you
7:30
You
Central.
did a great job, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and Rob
All
is
right.
live tomorrow with Dean Reverse Polarity. He just kind of mentioned that. I don't know if it came through, but make sure you check him out as well. We have a lot of things going on, guys. We're streaming every day, it seems like, and that's fun stuff. So we will continue to do it. And thanks everybody for your feedback and everybody for helping out. We greatly appreciate it. Till next time, we will see ya.
Take care.